Well, after seeing that the New Jersey Devils were ranked 28th in the entire league for power play percentage, and also seeing the amount of shorthanded goals they let up throughout the course of this year, Tom Fitzgerald had two words to say to Mark Recchi, and it doesn't take a genius to know which two words he said to him. Also, despite showing capabilities of holding down the fort, Alain Nasreddine will not have his contract renewed. We have a lot to discuss in this episode. Buckle up.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, and also Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, Trey Matthews. My apologies for not publishing an episode yesterday. I was in the midst of moving out of my college room, so once again, I apologize for that. However, and hopefully this comes out right because I sincerely mean it, I'm kind of glad that I didn't record an episode yesterday because I woke up to some big Devils news this morning, and I think all of you know where I'm going with this, so let's get right into it. So we're just a couple days into the offseason, and the Devils are already making some moves because my prediction was proven to be true because instead of the Devils firing Lindy Ruff, they elected to fire Mark Recchi and not renew Alain Nasreddine's contract. So in other words, Ruff is safe for now, but some of his staff members were not so lucky. Today, we're going to break down the press release. We're going to talk about some previous comments that were made by Lindy Ruff and Nico Hischier because now those start to come into the light and everything starts to come into fruition. And it proves that one of my other predictions were also correct in terms of what Hischier said during his exit meeting interview. So we'll talk later about that in the episode. And then I'll give you guys my opinions as to why this was the correct move for the Devils organization because we can only improve from here. And I don't feel as though Lindy Ruff was the overall problem for New Jersey Devils. So let's start with the press release, shall we? So the Devils website kept it short and simple when it came to breaking the information to the public. The press release stated verbatimly, the New Jersey Devils today announced that it has mutually agreed to part ways with assistant coach Alain Nasreddine as his contract will not be renewed. Additionally, assistant coach Mark Recchi has been relieved of his duties. The announcement was made by Devils executive vice president / general manager Tom Fitzgerald. So let's go back a couple days ago during Nico Hischier's exit meeting interview because he said he was not going to comment in regards to whether or not he wanted to see the same coaching staff return next year. And that got Twitter buzzing a little bit because everyone was making rumors and speculations as to what was going to happen to Lindy Ruff. Now, I said in the previous episode, take what Nico Hischier said with a grain of salt and look at how the question was framed. Because if you look back at some of the tweets recapping the exit meeting interviews for New Jersey Devils, it said coaching staff, not Lindy Ruff specifically. So Nico Hischier never said that he did not want to see Lindy Ruff next year. He just said he wasn't going to comment in regards to the coaching staff because I think we all knew that a change was going to happen, whether if it was Lindy Ruff's staff or Lindy Ruff himself were going to be relieved of their duties. And now we finally get word that Nasreddine and Recchi will not be returning to the Devils organization come next year. So I told you guys another prediction that I got correct, which was take what Nico Hischier said with a grain of salt because I don't think he was referring to Lindy Ruff. I think he was just referring to the coaching staff. So once again, guys, I don't believe Lindy Ruff was the problem for the Devils organization. And as soon as we closed out the season on a sour note, a lot of people were just saying that Lindy Ruff was on the hot seat. A lot of people were saying he's cooked. A lot of people said he is too old for this, yada, yada, yada. I heard it all over social media, but I just kept telling you guys, I don't think Lindy Ruff being fired is going to be guaranteed coming into the offseason. And quite honestly, it shouldn't have been a priority because I don't think, like I just said, Lindy Ruff was the problem. I think it was his coaching staff and what he had to work with in terms of putting out the line combinations because the Devils had to deal with a lot of COVID and injury-related issues. Now, I read a comment on one of my more recent videos saying that the Devils weren't the only team, facing COVID and injuries, and that is true. But at the same time, when you look at a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, who had some COVID and injury issues early on in the season, and now they're in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the difference between a team like the Penguins and the Devils is that the Devils don't really have that many options, and also we don't have that many veteran leaders in our organization, which is why I really wanted the Devils to stick with PK Subban, because Subban is one of those experienced players who can, provide a lot of knowledge and tutelage and mentorship to younger guys. Kyle Shapiro, emergency backup goalie, said that PK Subban was sort of his veteran when he had to join the Devils organization. So it goes to show you guys that veteran leadership and also veteran presence is vital if a team wants to try to make it to the playoffs. And another issue that the Devils lacked in was depth in general. I talked a lot about this going into the trade deadline. I said outside of our top six, outside of Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, and also Nico Hischier, we didn't really have that many options in terms of trying to provide consistent offense because people like Dawson Mercer went silent. Sharon Govich wasn't able to pick it up until halfway through the year. And there was just so many pieces that had potential, but at the same time, they're just not consistent enough. They're not reliable enough. And the same can be said on the defensive side of things because we have a lot of good pieces. We have Dougie Hamilton, we have Ryan Graves, we have Jonas Siegenthaler. Ty Smith had a sophomore slump, but I'm betting that maybe he can rebound come next year. But at the same time, it's just like the consistency on the defensive side of things was also lacking. And the biggest issue, goaltending. So goaltending also didn't have much consistency. So there are some priorities in front of just trying to fire Lindy Ruff. One is just to try to find a few veteran pieces, and the other is just to try to find consistency somewhere else. So that way we can round out our top six, we can round out our bottom six, we can try to get some more production on the defensive side of things and just try to find a suitable goalie tandem because it seems like Mackenzie Blackwood is the only guarantee for the goalie side of things come next year, barring anything catastrophic happening over the course of the offseason. So it goes to show you guys that it's not just Lindy Ruff. So when you're just saying like fire Lindy Ruff, you got to look at other aspects to make us better. And firing Mark Recchi and not bring back Nasreddine, Nasreddine, I don't want to scapegoat him or anything, but it was just time to move on from him. And I'll talk about it a little later in the episode. So once again, just firing the people around Lindy Ruff, I think that'll be the more beneficial solution going forward, especially since Ruff only has one more year left on his contract. So I think the Devils will definitely go to a much better place come the offseason when they start to make a couple moves, because it seems like Tom Fitzgerald and Lindy Ruff are pretty much on the same page in regards to just trying to take the Devils organization to the next level, because I think it's safe to say our young guys are getting a little tired of losing, because I think we've reached a point where we got to stop saying that the Devils are a young and experienced team. No, that we need to put that BS aside and try to stomp forward, because I feel as though we have the potential to do so, but obviously we weren't able to utilize that potential because we had to deal with a lot of COVID and injury restrictions. And like I said, going back to that last comment made on YouTube, yes, you're right. We weren't the only team dealing with it, but at the same time, it hurts our team a lot more compared to a top tier team that have options behind each and every player and behind that veteran leadership as well to try to glue everyone together. We were missing one of our vocal leaders throughout the entirety of the season, and that's Miles Wood. Miles Wood had a hell of a year last year, and we missed his overall production, and more importantly, we missed his overall vocalness, his leadership in the locker room. So once again, guys, I get the frustration. I get that you guys are just saying like the Devils not firing Lindy Ruff is a disservice to the Devils organization and also the Devils fan base. But at the same time, guys, just look at the positive aspect here, which is, yes, I think we're a lot closer than people realize, and making these small necessary moves can definitely move us forward. And I'll talk more about that momentarily. But first, our next partner has a product I use literally every day, and it is AG1. Because here's the thing with AG1, also called Athletic Greens. It's a product that just makes you happier, healthier, helps you sleep better at night, gives you the energy you need to just take on the day. I take it literally every day, like I just mentioned. So I highly recommend you guys do it. So what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all these things. So you know what I need? I just need more energy. I need to sleep better at night, and Athletic Greens has just been the answer for me. So your body is a temple, so it's time for you to start treating it as such, because here's some health facts. Its lifestyle is friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good, supports better sleep quality, and recovery supports mental clarity and alertness. It's one thing that's best with this product, which is Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. This stuff is great, let me tell you. So right now, it's time for you to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And now, the second live read comes from our friends at betonline.net. So betonline.net is your number one source for all your sport betting stats and info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs, MLB, NHL playoffs, and this weekend's run to the Roses as the Kentucky Derby is back. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information from live betting, playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please remember to gamble responsibly and visit our friends at Locked On Bets for all your betting needs there as well. So in regards to today's episode, I've been talking about how Mark Recchi and Alain Nasreddine are not returning to the Devils organization. I talked about some other priorities that are more important in regards to Lindy Ruff's job security. And I think it's safe to say that Lindy Ruff is safe for now, because if we go back just a couple more days, let's look at another team that recently fired their head coach, which is the Detroit Red Wings with Jeff Blashill. So here's the thing. They announced that they were not bringing back Blashill and a couple other assistant coaches, but this time around for the New Jersey Devils, they announced that they weren't bringing back a couple assistant coaches. But do you think they're going to fire Lindy Ruff a couple days later or a couple weeks later? I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it's safe to say that Lindy Ruff is safe for now. And going back to what he said during his exit meeting interviews, he said that he wasn't sure if he was going to be returning as the Devils head coach. And he said that every coach was being reevaluated. So that certainly got Twitter buzzing a little bit. And I'll be honest, I kind of had my thoughts saying that I think Lindy Ruff might be fired. But another tweet that was proven to be true said that if Lindy Ruff does his exit meeting interview, then you can pretty much guarantee that his job with the Devils is safe. But my overall concern for Lindy Ruff is he a long-term solution? Because I do like Lindy Ruff. I like what he's done with the organization so far. He's been able to develop some of our players. And another thing that I want to revisit, which was someone commented on one of my more recent videos saying that Jack Hughes and the other guys were going to develop with or without Lindy Ruff. And I said that might be true, but look what Jack Hughes is doing right now. So if you guys need some more proof as to why Lindy Ruff is a good coach, just look at Jack Hughes and his overall development. Because remember Jack Hughes' rookie year? You probably don't want to, because it was atrocious. Jack Hughes statistically had the worst performance for a first overall selected forward since Joe Thornton in 1998. So we're talking players like Patrick Stefan had better rookie years as the first overall pick compared to Jack Hughes. And obviously, Alexis Lafreniere followed Jack Hughes, and he's kind of gone downhill a little bit. So once again, guys, another proof, which is Jack Hughes has been developing well under Lindy Ruff, and Lindy Ruff and Jack Hughes seem to have a good relationship, because I said a couple days ago that I'm sure the Devils organization is going to ask all of our young core. They're going to ask the leaders, what do they think about Lindy Ruff? Are they responding well to him? And if they say that they like him, then they're definitely going to stick with Lindy Ruff, because they're not going to listen to the fans. They're going to listen to the players, because at the end of the day, guys, we're not on the rink. We're not the ones drawing up the plays. We're not the ones in film session. We're not the ones at practice. So I'm sure they said something in regards to like the special teams, because special teams have been terrible this year. So firing Mark Recchi was the right idea and it was the right approach. And I said towards the end of the season, I said, your energy towards Mark Recchi needs to be the same as Lindy Ruff, because our special teams were atrocious. Our power play execution, especially towards the end of the year, was absolutely god-awful. Our penalty kill was inconsistent. We gave up so many shorthanded goals. It was like a Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street kind of situation, because I'm actually more glad that we got rid of Mark Recchi over Lindy Ruff, because when it comes to our special teams, you can't put that blame on Lindy Ruff. You just can't, because that's not what he's in charge of. His job is just to put everything together and try to make sure that the execution runs smoothly. But Mark Recchi, it's his job to try to get the most out of our special teams. And if he couldn't do it in Pittsburgh, which, by the way, I literally said early on in the episode, I said that Pittsburgh is a veteran-led team with a lot of depth, which is why they're in the playoffs right now. If Mark Recchi couldn't do it in Pittsburgh, what did people think that he could do with the New Jersey Devils? A young, inexperienced roster for the most part. I don't know what people were expecting. I thought just because, maybe he's a former Stanley Cup champion, maybe, he just has that experience like Lindy Ruff, and maybe he could just pass it down to some of our younger guys. But man, that was further from the truth. Do I think Mark Recchi will get another job? Absolutely, just given his track history. But the only warning I say is, he couldn't do it for a playoff contending team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, who has one of the best players of all time in Sidney Crosby, and he couldn't do it in a young, inexperienced team like the New Jersey Devils that's led by an up-and-coming star in Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes. So what makes you think he could do it for your organization? So once again, I want to give full respect to Mark Recchi, because he is a former multi-time Stanley Cup winner. He won it with Pittsburgh, Carolina, and Boston, 3 different organizations, and he is in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But at the same time, he was just not that good of a coach for the Devils organization. I'm sorry. But like I said, I have the utmost respect for Mark Recchi, but in terms of him just being the special teams coach for New Jersey Devils, it just didn't work, and the players weren't responding well. Wasn't working. We gave up so many shorthanded goals. Our power play was just non-existent at times, and it seemed like it got worse compared to last year, and it was just frustrating to see, because we had a stretch where we went 0 for 20, 0 for 30, something in our power plays, something like that. I lost count, but we went on that stretch. So that's just something I want to point out. And then for Nasreddine, compared to all the other staff that was brought on by Lindy Ruff, Nasreddine was the only coach that was from the Hines era, because everyone else was new. So I think it was best to let go of Nasreddine, just because it's best to have just new voices in the locker room and just try to start fresh. And I feel like Nasreddine just sticking around from the previous era, I just think is not really good for our overall development. And I think Hines will definitely get a job. I think Alex Chavancy said that maybe he could get a job out in Nashville or something like that, but we'll see what happens. But I wish both coaches the best of luck in their future ventures. And going back to what I said the past few episodes, guys, Lindy Ruff is here to stay, and I like his overall development plan. And I was wrong about Lindy Ruff when we first brought him on, because I think he's been a decent coach. He's just been faced with a few unlucky circumstances. So once again, that's my overall reaction to Mark Recchi and Alain Nasreddine being let go by the New Jersey Devils organization. And I'll let you guys know what's next for the Devils moving forward. Now, I'm not sure if this is a silly season type of scenario, but it's something that's been legitimately talked about. So according to the Brat Pack on Twitter, they said, "You heard it here first. Lindy Ruff is being promoted to the front office in player personnel role, leaving the head coaching position open. Nasreddine and Recchi will both be relieved of their duties." Now, half of that is correct, because obviously Nasreddine and Recchi have both been relieved of their duties, but Lindy Ruff being promoted to a front office position, that's something that's actually been talked about the last couple days. I spoke to Jersey Joe about that kind of scenario, and here are my thoughts. Could Lindy Ruff be promoted to a front office role? I don't really think so, just because you usually give that kind of position to someone who's been a part of your organization for a long time now. I've given Lindy Ruff his due credits, because he has been able to develop some of our young guys, but in terms of him just being promoted to player personnel or something like that, I just don't think that would be a realistic situation. But it does raise a question, because Lindy Ruff would be a part of the organization for years to come if he was promoted, and ultimately that leaves the coaching position open. So that way we get a new head coach, but at the same time, Lindy Ruff isn't let go by the Devils organization. So once again, I don't really know, because Marty Brodeur has a front office position, because he's been with the Devils organization for a long time. He's given back to us, and we have to give back to him. So ultimately, it's just I really don't know, but it's intriguing and it's interesting. So once again, take that scenario with a grain of salt, because nothing is confirmed or denied, especially with Nasreddine and Recchi now recently being relieved from the New Jersey Devils for their respective roles. But ultimately, Lindy Ruff being promoted. I mean, he's one of the more winningest coaches in NHL history, and his track history speaks for himself, because if you look at what he's been able to do during his time in the league as a head coach, and also him being a captain during his time for the Buffalo Sabres, but ultimately, it's just like I could see him maybe, doing something for the Buffalo Sabres, but not really for the New Jersey Devils. It doesn't really make sense because he's only been associated with the organization the last couple years, and he hasn't made that long lasting of an impact. So when we look back like 10 years from now, when the Devils win the Stanley Cup, when Jack Hughes is like, one of the best players in the league, same with Jesper Bratt, they're a dynamic duo. We have a Vezina Trophy goalie in net, but would we realistically be saying Lindy Ruff is the reason why we're here where we are today? I don't really think so. I think Lindy Ruff has definitely had some sort of role, but I don't think he's had that significant of a role, if that makes sense. So once again, I love Lindy Ruff. I love what he's been doing to the organization, but in terms of him getting a front office position, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Obviously, this is just sort of like a silly season scenario that I have discussed with Jersey Joe, but ultimately that would be kind of interesting, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Devils organization is really set on Lindy Ruff being the head coach for the Devils and just trying to lead them forward. And I feel as though he'll definitely have a better opportunity to do so next year. So once again, guys, I wouldn't be all that frustrated that Lindy Ruff is still the head coach for the Devils. I think come mid-season, if the Devils are still struggling, then maybe you start to bring up those rumors once again. This is, barring anything catastrophic happening over the offseason or maybe something happening within the next few weeks. But like I said, I fully anticipate for Lindy Ruff to be the head coach for the Devils come next year, and I feel as though he'll have a better opportunity to do so. He'll have a better staff around him. He'll have more players to work with. COVID restrictions are going to be limited, and his team, for the most part, will be healthy once again. So I think we just need to give Lindy Ruff a better chance to just try to utilize the tools that are being provided to him, because he has the opportunity to do something big, but unfortunately he just hasn't had that correct pathway to do so. So I get that you guys are frustrated. I get that you guys are looking at like maybe Kevin Dineen or something like that, but I'm just like, what do you legitimately have against Lindy Ruff? I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, and maybe I'll discuss it in the next episode. I want to hear why you guys don't like Lindy Ruff, because I gave you my reasons as to why I respect Lindy Ruff. I gave you the reasons why I feel as though he should not be fired, and I gave you guys the reasons as to why the coaching staff around him should be fired, including maybe our goalie coach, but that's a discussion for another episode. So let me know what you guys think about the Devils letting go of Nasreddine and Recchi, and what do you think about Lindy Ruff being most likely our head coach next year. So leave your comments down below, and also remember to subscribe to Locked On Devils on YouTube, and follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Devils, and hit me up on my personal Twitter page at TreyMatt4. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you guys. Thanks for listening. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again.